Okay, adoption of the agenda. There are 2 delegations on tonight's agenda respecting the city's participation in the Partners for Climate Change program. The motion respecting the PCP program is a reconsideration, and it will be moved up on the agenda to be considered prior to the delegations on this matter. Agenda item 10.2. Can I get a mover and a seconder first, and then I'll take, I got a mover, Councilor Decker, seconder, Councilor Hare. Go ahead, Councilor DeAngelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to get a bit of clarity on the motion that's being considered as a reconsideration. And I want to ask regarding that, because back in February of 2023, I asked that when we were deliberating this, and a motion was brought forward that we would have a report within a year. It was supposed to be piloted for a year and to come back to answer a lot of council questions at that point in time. Well, to date, I haven't seen the report. So A, I'd like to know where the report is, and then B, I'll talk about the reconsideration in a motion in a minute, but I need to know where the report is and where it's coming.
I'll get our clerk, Matthew Trenham's online, and he will explain. Okay, go ahead, Matthew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So the original motion was that the city staff be approved to become members in the program and that we provide an annual report. So that was the wording that was actually approved. The city did not actually join the program at that time. For any number of reasons, it was delayed. We didn't actually start our membership until February of this year. So membership began February 5th of 2024, which means we haven't had a year of the program to report anything. So the annual report you'd be expecting on how the program was used, if it was used, or any of the financials impacts that you were requesting would be coming in February 2025.
Okay, well, not to be argumentative, but that's not the impression I left when I was bringing that motion forward that we pilot this for a year, because there wasn't really consensus that evening. And to help facilitate a bit of consensus to see where we were moving, because we were all over the place and council wasn't unanimous in the decision at the time, I brought that forward. So let's try it for a year. And then after a year, a report comes back to council, because there were still a lot of questions because it had just come to our agenda very quickly, and there wasn't a lot of background information. So I'm still in the opinion that my decision to put it on the floor for a year sort of stands, that not because the date that we joined, but from the time that I asked for the report in a year. Because I do have questions. There's questions out there from other people in terms of cost, staff time, that we need to elaborate on. So I don't want to wait another year to have this information come forward, because by that time we'll be into the next budget. We haven't finished our strategic plan, so it's important for me that we know where we're headed on the strategic plan and where this fits into the strategic plan. So at this point in time, I'm not prepared to deal with a reconsideration motion, because I don't feel it's a reconsideration motion. So if I have to, Mr. Chair, I'll challenge. I'm not sure what your ruling is, if you're supporting the clerk on this. If that's the case, I have further comments.
Matthew, do you want to elaborate further?
Sure, I can. If there are questions with regards to the program, again, my understanding is staff have only just gained access to it. So they're not going to be able to answer a lot of the questions that you may have, again, because the purpose of the motion was to get a report within a year of using it. We haven't used it for a year. So while I do appreciate, Mr. Mayor, that may have been the direction, there were no timelines associated with it, which is why I would suggest that it is a reconsideration, because the motion as worded intends that we participate for a year and then report on it. That being said, understanding that councillors may have a number of questions, I would suggest that those questions perhaps filter through the Environment Committee to either the councillor who's involved and or having staff attend specifically to ask those questions and get feedback immediately on to what we've had access to. I know staff can provide some answers to that, but it would be a reconsideration to have the motion that the councillor is recommending tonight to basically rescind our membership, because we haven't had a year's membership yet.
Okay, Councilor DeAngelo.
Well, again, I don't feel comfortable. I guess my first question is, now that we've signed up, how long are we locked into this agreement at this point in time?
Is it a year that it's coming back? Do you want to elaborate on that so we can get clarity, Matthew?
So my understanding is we're not locked into anything. Again, council could certainly withdraw, but the way the motion was worded, we would be looking to have a membership for a year. Again, if council wanted to reconsider it, they could do so and then end the membership early. But there's no contract that's necessarily signed with the program itself. Again, we could refer to staff, but I just would hesitate, Mr. Mayor, going too far down this road because none of this is actually on the floor at present. The only thing on the floor is the agenda and whether or not to have the reconsideration.
Sounds good. We can deal with that when that comes on the floor, correct?
Yes.
Well,
But they want clarity on the reconsideration so that when we get to that point, we'll be deciding if it's a reconsideration or not, correct?
So that's correct. Right now, what we're doing is we're saying that we're moving the reconsideration vote to before the delegations. If council have concerns about that, they could debate whether it is a reconsideration when that is actually on the floor.
When that comes on the floor, okay? So right now, we're just adopting the movement of the speakers up if it's reconsidered, and then we can debate the basis of the reconsideration when at that time.
So just to be clear, Mr. Mayor, if I want to challenge the chair on the ruling, I would do it at that point in time?
That's correct.
Just so that...
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? That's all we're talking about now. If you want to talk on that, we'll talk when the motion comes on the floor.
Yeah, point of order, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question about what Matthew just said. Why wouldn't we have the presentations prior to that coming up?
No, because then we make that decision prior to the presentations. When that comes on the floor, okay? Which is... It's a meeting. Okay. At 10.2. 10.2. Okay? Okay? We're moving forward now. We can discuss that at that point. Is everybody good with that? Go ahead.
No, Mr. Mayor, I'm a little confused of what we're doing. Are we allowing the delegation?
No, we're going to make that decision prior to, at that point in the agenda. Okay?
So we're waiting until we get to 10.2?
That's correct.
Why don't we just deal with it now?
Wait, I'll let Matthew clarify that. Go ahead, Matthew.
So, Mr. Mayor, if you would like to, right now, determine whether it's a reconsideration, you can make that decision now if you'd like. You could also wait until that portion of the agenda. Essentially, the determination is if it's a reconsideration, and that's determined by council, which is my recommendation, then the reconsideration must pass before the delegations can speak, because there's no guarantee that anything is on the floor or on the agenda until it's voted to reconsider. If council deems it that it's not a reconsideration, it is just a motion, then the delegations can continue.
Okay, so we'll do that now. I think that's prudent to do it.
Sure, we can do that now.
Okay,
So again, my recommendation, Mr. Mayor, is that it's a reconsideration.
okay. Go ahead, Councilor DeAngelo.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I don't think it's a reconsideration in my opinion, so I'd like to challenge that rule.
The ruling is that it is a reconsideration. You'd like to challenge the ruling. Can I get a seconder for that? Councilor DeRose. All those, okay, so the motion, you read it out? The motion by Councilor DeAngelo, seconded by Councilor DeRose, is that it's not a reconsideration. Okay, so if you think it's a reconsideration, you vote no. If you don't think it's a reconsideration, you're voting yes, correct?
Yes.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. So the
Okay.
way the motion will actually be worded is that the decision of the chair be sustained. So you vote yes if you believe it is a reconsideration, and you vote yes to sustain the chair's or the mayor's decision. You vote no if you disagree and you wish the challenge to go forward, which means it is not a reconsideration.
Go ahead, Councilor Dan.
Well, I just want to make sure it's clear. I don't know if I could speak on the reconsideration, but the clarity I'm looking for is we gave direction last February to move forward with this. It's been a year. We were supposed to get a report back, and at that point in time, we were going to determine if we're moving forward. I'm not in agreement in the position that we got to wait another year to get that report. So I'm looking for a staff report. That's why I don't consider this a reconsideration. I expected a staff report to come forward in the very near future, and then council could debate it at that point in time, because part of that motion that I brought forward was it was a one-year pilot project to look at if we're going to continue or not, and we needed greater clarity on staff time that was being spent on that, costs associated with that, because, and then also, to me, at that time when I did that, I also looked at it, how it fit into our strategic plan, which isn't completed yet. So there's a few points there that's why it leads me to believe it's not a reconsideration. And when I'm looking at our agenda and I'm looking at all the things that we have to accomplish as a council, that we have to make sure that our staff are directed to do things that are progressive for our community. And this one is going to be consuming a lot of staff time that it's going to be detrimental to, making sure our ditches have issues. There's some issues with dishes. Ditches. We have issues with traffic control issues. We have, there's a lot of stuff that we need to do. And our fundamental items are sometimes not being covered. Our basic needs, recreation. We're not spending a lot of time on that, and now we're going beyond that. So I don't want to be spending a lot of staff time on this, because I felt it, and it was staff that brought this forward last year and had a bit of urgency with it. Now it's not that urgent. So again, I see a lot of stuff that we need to do just for our basic needs of our community, and that's where I feel staff time should be spent. I'm not sure what the rest of the council feels, but that's my feeling. We need to meet the basic needs, sidewalks issues. Like there's a lot of issues. Parks, there's a request for another splash pad. Like it's not even in our budget. So we have all those things that need to be considered, and now we're throwing this on staff on top of it when they should have had it been dealt with within the past year.
Okay, so Matthew explained why that didn't happen. Matthew, do you want to get clarity before I call the question?
Sure.
You can speak.
So,
Wait, just let me finish here.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, the reason the reconsideration is the motion is to rescind the membership. And the membership was, for a year after which the report. So that's the reconsideration piece. There would be nothing to prevent council from asking staff to provide a report at this time, either through the Economic Development or the Environment Committee, or direct to council on the progress or cost or anything that's happened to date. Nothing would prevent that. That's not the reconsideration or the issue. The issue is the motion is to rescind the membership, and that motion originally passed was to do this for a year and then provide a report. So even if we ask for a report now and staff provide it, there would still be an annual report in 2025 should the membership continue. The reason that it did not happen at the time, I believe the staff member who was leading it did leave the organization. I know there was a great deal of turnover in staff in the department. It just didn't get processed until it was realized that it wasn't processed, and we made sure that we continued that step following the direction of council.
Okay. So, Councilor D'Angelo, that wouldn't stop asking for a staff report at this time. That's what the clerk is saying.
Well,
We can't hear you. Put your microphone on.
It is on.
We can't hear you.
okay, Mr. Mayor, there's other councilors want to speak, so I want to heed the floor to the other councilors and let them speak, but I do have a few more comments. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with everything Councilor D'Angelo said, except one thing, asking for a report on the status of how this program has progressed. It's been live for a month. There's not going to be much in that report because we haven't given it due time. So where we go from here, I don't know, but this hasn't transpired the way it should have. We should have been at the end of 1 year with a staff report coming to us. Now to ask us to rescind it, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if the program works or not, or is a benefit or not, okay? So, again, I agree with my fellow counselor, but at this point, this is a very difficult decision because council as a whole, we voted unanimously last time for this one-year trial, and we haven't given it due process.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Handley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My first concern is that us joining on February the 5th when the clerk said, and I believe that only happened because of the email that I sent to the city, to the clerk and to Manoj on February the 1st, where I asked a series of questions in regards to it, so council knows, and those questions still haven't been answered because now that we know we didn't join, but it wasn't until after I inquired to the city that we joined. I think that's when they realized they didn't join, knowing that last year I had concerns and was probably going to bring in a motion to the floor, which I did tell council I was bringing to the floor, and it just happened that the day before the council meeting, February 6th, I'd already given a notice. I'd let it be known I was going to be doing it, and he told me the meeting before I could do it at the meeting, and that we joined the day before on February the 5th. How convenient. But in January, I wrote, and I said, in January 2023, City Council agreed to a one-year membership partnership with PCP, known as Partners for Climate Protection. The term, as per council decision, has ended. Some question in regards to such. I wish to receive all agreements, if any, made between the corporation and the City of Thorold and PPC, known as Partners for Climate Protection. What free resources had the PCP supplied to the corporation and the City of Thorold? Even though it's been a year, we all could have been given that information. That's one thing too. Why hasn't the Partner for Climate Protection ever come here to present to the council so that we can question them, the people that are going to implement it? It's brought in from a staff member, which I feel was wrong. What the PC program, as stated by staff at the time, has 5 different stages. See, we still didn't get a clear answer from the question that Councilor D'Angelo asked. How long does the program last for? I know we can cancel at any time, but it's a 5-year program. And my 10 years, yeah. Excuse me, yeah, don't
Please,
interrupt.
there's no
Sorry.
discussion in
And
the
I asked,
audience, please.
what range of tools was mentioned by Megan Burbeck in 2023 as the city used to calculate greenhouse gas emissions? See, I asked that question because I went to the Municipal Act and the Green Energy Act passed in 2029, and she mentioned it specifically, the Energy Conservation and Demand Management Plans. So my question would be to staff, who on the city previously has been filling out those reports? Because in the Act, I have it right here, there's amendments to it, but on or before July 1st, 2013, every public agency shall submit to the minister, publish on its website or internet site, if it has either or both, and make available to the public in printed and form to the head office of public's energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. See, council's not aware of what our obligations really were and have been. So someone from the cities had to been doing this, because it goes on to say, and Megan had actually said that day that it would be someone from Public Works or Finance doing it. Now we have another individual from the city that's possibly doing it. So I have many concerns with it because it was then amended again on July 1st, 2019, and that one says on and before every 5th anniversary thereafter, every public agency shall publish on its website and internet site. We've never done it. And I found out there are only 4 municipalities, Grimsby, West Lincoln, Welland, and St. Catharines, that are actually signed up to this program. We shouldn't even be doing it. This is a regional thing that's coming up, but we've already had responsibilities. So we must have already had a person on staff that's doing an energy conservation demand management plans because they've been mandated since 2009.
Okay.
So that's my concerns, and I just want to go on one more thing. The report dated February the 27th actually said right in it, we're missing, they didn't mention that, it says the Partners for Climate Protection CPC financial considerations. My thought is that it should have been brought to the budget meetings, and that's why I waited till February 1st to send my email to the city, because it didn't come up during the budget meetings. So I was wondering, well, what's going on with this program? And we've all been in the loop for a year. So I can't support it. I don't think it's a reconsideration either. The time's come and gone. And the simple fact that I inquired on the 1st about it, on the 5th we happened to sign up, knowing on the 6th that I was going to be bringing a notice of motion forward to bring this forward, because I had to notify council 4 days prior. So I notified the city, they signed up for the program, and then we had the council meeting the next day, so that concerns me.
So, Mr. Mayor,
That's my thing.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to advise you that we want to stick to the reconsideration
Okay.
piece, and I will correct myself. While we received notification that we had become members on February 5th, the application was started January 18th.
Okay. And of
But
May
we do need to stick, this is about the reconsideration.
Okay,
Actually, at this
so-
point, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, it's really only about whether or not to sustain your ruling of its whether reconsideration, and that's what we should be discussing at this point.
We had a mover and a seconder for that, so the motion on the floor is,
The motion on
To
the floor.
sustain the ruling of the chair.
Yeah.
so to sustain the ruling of the chair, you'd vote yes, which means it's a reconsideration, correct? And if you say no, then it's not a reconsideration, then we'll deal with it. Am I I just want to be clear
Correct.
and make sure everybody's clear when they vote.
So you're voting no.
If you vote yes, then you're saying that it's a reconsideration, you're sustaining the ruling. If you vote no, then it goes into be a reconsideration. I mean, it's not a reconsideration.
Meaning that we'll discuss it tonight.
That's correct. Okay? That is it. Does anyone want to speak to that? Okay? Seeing none, we had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? I did explain it, but I'll explain it again. That if you vote yes, you're sustaining the ruling that it is a reconsideration. If you vote no, you're saying that it is not a
If
reconsideration.
you vote no, we can discuss it tonight.
That's correct. Okay? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay? So, I
Yeah.
know, just one sec.
There can't be any,
I'm just gonna make it known that we'll clear the chambers if there continues to be noise in the crowd. Decorum in this council chamber is that you're here, you're welcome to listen, but let's keep it down. Councilors will speak and ask questions and deal with the issues, okay? Thank you. Councilor DeAngelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at this time, what I wanted to speak about was getting our staff report brought forward to this council. There's still information and questions that are out there, and that's what I wanted to see done within a year. So now we're past the year's point, but I'm still
But we'll
believing.
deal with that when now the report comes on the floor. This is just the agenda item that we're moving forward on.
Well,
when it comes to the floor, the presenters get to make a presentation? Correct?
Yes, as far as Matthew?
So sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't hear your announcement of the vote, how it went, assuming that it was not sustained.
No.
That's correct.
Mr. Mayor?
So then the agenda remains as is. We continue through the delegations, and then immediately following the delegations, the motion from Councilor Handley will come forward.
Okay.
And that, at that time, council can certainly debate the motion and amend it, include reporting or any of the above, ask questions of staff with regards to the program.
Thank you. Okay, is that clear for everyone? Okay? Okay. So now, adoption, can I get a mover and we had a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda, and as amended, all those in favor?
Hear the people out.
Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes, can I get a mover and a seconder to